What if you could turn your passion for helping others into a career that changes lives, starting with your own? Join Empower's Certified Professional Empower Coach Academy, accredited by the ICF and powered by Oregon State University. Our next cohort begins February 28th. Visit yesempower.com to reserve your spot today.
Welcome to Rewired. I'm your host, Tiffany Grimes with Empower Coaching and Training. Hey friends, this is Tiffany and you are listening to Rewired, where neuroscience meets real life change. It is November 3rd. I'm sipping warm tea out of my mug. I am in a cozy sweatshirt. I'm looking out the window where migratory birds are stealing some sunflower seeds and last bits of my garden as they make their journey, and the leaves are changing. We've got a fire in the fireplace, and it is so very fall. Today, I am coming to you. I want to talk about one of the most misunderstood words in personal growth, in coaching, in leadership, and that word is accountability. So today's podcast is called The Accountability Advantage. So what I want to make clear is that I'm here to help encourage you to build a new relationship with accountability. If you feel that your shoulders tighten, or you feel like accountability has been linked to criticism or to guilt or to feeling like somehow you failed, if that's your relationship, if it's a cringe word for you, I'm here to see if on this cozy little day we can build a different relationship with accountability, because it is so powerful and really critical to our own growth. So accountability isn't punishment. I'm just going to start with that. Accountability is ownership. And if that is not your story, know that we can build new brain pathways around our relationship with accountability. Accountability is how we align our behavior with who we say we want to be. So I want you to just kind of sit with that for a minute. So how we align our behavior and really live into that with who we say we want to be, living into our values, living into our goals, living into our vision. It's really the bridge between intention and integrity. So today I want to rewire how we think about it, and through neuroscience, of course, and through coaching, of course, and through everyday human reality-based tools to help us live into that, we are going to launch into episode 12. Let's start with the brain. When you hold yourself accountable, when you keep a promise to yourself, you light up the prefrontal cortex. So I want you to think about the last time you did that. You said you were going to get up early. You said you were going to go for a walk at lunch. You said you were going to practice emotional intelligence in a conversation. And when you did that thing, because I know you have many examples of that, you actually kept a promise to yourself. That's the part of your brain responsible for planning, decision-making, and follow-through, that prefrontal cortex. Beyond the prefrontal cortex, the anterior cingulate cortex is also watching. So the whole brain is paying attention. And that's the system that tracks things like, did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I actually follow through? And this part of the brain helps to course correct when you drift off track. And every time you follow through, so every time you've done what you said you were going to do, no matter how big, and most importantly, no matter how small, you get a hit of dopamine. The brain's way of saying, yes, this is who I am. This feels right. Yes, I've done it. It's this reward system. What we're experiencing is identity reinforcement in motion. So we're living into this identification of who we are or who we want to be. Each small act of follow through, And I want to underscore that. Sometimes we set our goals and they're gargantuan. We can have those gargantuan goals and think about the small acts that will get us through. And each time we follow through on those small steps, it tells your brain, I'm the kind of person who can do this. I'm the type of person who can trust myself. Now flip that a little bit. When accountability is framed as threat or shame, which is how it's been used against us for a very long time, your amygdala lights up. That's your brain's alarm system or threat system. And once that fires, learning and change can shut down or be hindered because it's the amygdala is saying this is a threat. We need to actually get our threat response system involved. And our threat response system is reaction, not response. It's literally sinking down into non-thinking regions of our brain. So accountability that comes from fear, like if you don't do this, this is what will happen, weakens self-regulation. And think about how often we hold ourselves accountable through fear or threat or shame. Accountability that comes from care and clarity strengthens it. Accountability isn't control, it's congruence. So let's set some safety and standards around this idea, this new relationship we're building with accountability. There's a misconception that accountability means being tough, calling people out, or holding the line. And I can think about 1,000 ways I experienced this in my upbringing, in my own family, in sports, in many places. It was this kind of rough and tough form of accountability. But the research, especially when we look at it through the lens of leadership and coaching, shows that high-performing teams thrive when there's both psychological safety and high accountability. We were just talking about this in our Empower Coach Training Academy last week. Safety without standards becomes what? Comfort, right? Safety. So I feel really okay. I feel not super challenged. And so if I stay there and I'm not putting standards in that, then I'm in my comfort zone, or what I often call our habit zone. We're not going to see a lot of growth there. Standards, on the other hand, without the safety, becomes more of that fear zone. And it's fear without the trust involved. So I'm not really going anywhere either there. So what we're looking for is that sweet spot, that area where we're holding high accountability and high support systems. And that is what we call the caring candor. It sounds like this. So something like, I believe in you enough to tell you the truth, and I'll walk with you as you work through it. And I want you to imagine saying that to somebody that you are working with or part of their growth path. And that might also be the conversation you're having with yourself in the mirror. I care enough about you, person in the mirror, to tell you the truth, real truth, that maybe we've been in this comfort zone for a long time and we can't get to our goals without moving through this. And I know it's scary. And so we're going to be in it together. We're going to work through this in a way where I feel supported. And then we follow up with some curiosity, like, what would that look like? Right? And start to look at accountability through that lens. That's the kind of accountability that fuels growth and not resistance. So you're working with your brain, with your evolutionary systems, and not against them, not just bullheading your way towards something, because that rarely works. So whether you're a leader, a parent, a coach, or, just a human, ask yourself, do people feel safe enough to tell me the truth? Do people feel safe enough to tell me the truth? Because you can't hold anyone accountable, including yourself, to a truth that you're afraid to say out loud. So let's talk about a little some levels of accountability here. We're going to talk about 4 specific levels of accountability. So level 1 is intention. It might sound like I should really, it's wishful thinking. It's what I want to have happen, but maybe I'm not doing much about it just yet, or I'm starting to flirt with an idea about change. The brain likes the idea of change. We like thinking about this. We love talking about it, but nothing is yet mapped. So it's nothing but a good idea. And then we move into plan 2. So maybe if we're going to use this idea of like health and fitness. So it's a good idea. You know what I want? I want to move through the day without pain. I want to have a body where I can think, I want to go for a hike this weekend and know that my body can support me in that, right? So there's level 1, it's intention. So level 2 might look like, I'll go to the gym 3 days a week, or I'm going to work out at home in my equipment for 3 days a week. Now we're starting to put some structure around it, right? But also stress and or fatigue and or real life and or parenting or scheduling can still knock this intention out. So I'm going to do this 3 days a week. Oh, except not this week because I have soccer on Tuesdays with the kids. And then, we have that game on Saturday. And then I've got to teach until whatever time, so pretty soon we start to find that life is getting in the way of that. Level 3 is implementation intention. So now we're going to get more specific. We're going to create some intention behind what this is that we want and how we're going to get there. So that might sound something like when I close my laptop at 5:15, I'll put on my shoes and walk for 10 minutes before I look at my phone, before I start engaging with whatever it is, the nighttime duties, the dinner plans, the grocery shopping, the whatever it is. So before I even leave the office, for example, in this particular scenario, I'm going to close the computer at 5:15. Before I go to my car, before I leave that area, I'm just going to put on my walking shoes, which means I'm going to bring them with me every day. And I'm going to walk for 10 minutes before I get into my car or before I get into my phone if I'm working from home or whatever that is. So what's happening is that's a prefrontal cortex dream, right? It's a clear cue and a concrete action. It's measurable. We can say at 5:16 if we are doing that or we are not. Level 4 is relational accountability. I'll text my friend Sam when I'm done walking. And if I don't, I'm going to ask Sam to just nudge me kindly, right? So now I'm bringing in what in the coaching world we call an accountability partner. So now I've let my friend Sam know that I'm going to do this every day for 10 minutes at 5:15. And I'm going to talk with you like we do every weekend. And I give you permission to nudge me if you hear me say that I'm starting to skip some days. The moment we bring someone else in, not to police us, but to witness us, which means we have to have a little conversation with Sam, because Sam might have their own relationship with accountability. What happens for us is follow through skyrockets. So as soon as we bring another person into this and they are there to witness us, not to judge us, our follow through statistically skyrockets because the social brain cares deeply about congruence and connection. So I'm going to have a little talk with Sam to say, here's what I would like for you to say. Here are the things I don't want you to say. I don't want you to say, what are you thinking? You're never going to reach your goals if you don't. Instead, here are some things I want you to remind me about. Ask me why this is important to me. Ask me what I've noticed in my body since I've started doing it, right? I'm going to coach Sam a little bit so that Sam can really support the part of my brain that can keep my follow-throughs.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Ready to make a real difference? Become a certified professional coach with Empower Coaching and Training. Our next CPEC cohort, accredited by the International Coaching Federation and offered in partnership with Oregon State University, Starts February 28th. Spots are limited. Learn more at yesempower.com.
Skyrocketing. So if you've been struggling to stay consistent, the answer might not be about willpower. Instead, it might just need a safe witness. So to recap those, we're talking about level 1 is the intention. So it's kind of the dream, it's the wishful thinking. Level 2 is now I'm starting to put a plan in place. Probably that plan is general. That's usually how we start. Then we move into level 3, that implementation and intention. So it becomes measurable. It becomes doable. And as a coach, what I want to encourage you to do is think about and remember small steps are really powerful for that dopamine hit and the trust in self. So if you know you are not going to go to the gym for an hour, 5 days a week, don't try to implement that intention. Give yourself a starting point where you can feel success. And then level 4 is that rational accountability. So I'm going to bring somebody into this. I might coach them a little bit about what kind of accountability I want and have them check in with me in a way that builds a brain that is moving me forward. And now let's talk about some of the accountability traps because we fall in them. I've probably fallen in every single one of these. So let's identify them. I think these are really important. And a lot of these are cognitive distortions. So trap 1 is all or nothing thinking. If I can't do it perfectly, it's not worth it. If I can't go to the gym 5 days a week, what's the point? What am I really going to do in 10 minutes a day, right? That is all or nothing thinking. That's not discipline. That's the amygdala trying to avoid vulnerability. It's your brain using cognitive distortions to try to avert really thinking through a process and that vulnerability that comes along with it. So start smaller. 10 minutes counts. Start smaller so that you can build a brain that can do these bigger goals that you have. Trap 2 is blame disguised as accountability. This is one of my favorite traps that I keep finding all over the place. So blame looks backwards, and this is what I've been trying to remind myself. So when I'm looking for how I messed up, why I messed up, I'm blaming myself for what happened in that moment. That's me looking backwards, and it's an indicator to me I'm searching for blame. And blame is just going to actually, while it might feel good and like I'm investigating to find solutions in the moment, I'm actually not, and I'm setting myself up to fail. So if what I'm trying to do is look at blame to find a solution, a better path to get there is to use accountability that's looking forward. So instead of saying, why did I do that? I'm going to say, what's my next aligned step? In Glennon Doyle's book, Love Where, I loved, she used this line, and I've used it, I think, every day since I read it so many years ago, which she would say, what's the next right step? And I love that. I can always ask myself that, no matter where I am, what is happening, how disaligned I have become with my goal. I can pause and say, ask myself, what's the next right step? Trap 3 are vague expectations. If you didn't define it, you can't measure it. This is one that I see a lot when I'm working with people in professional development and in coaching. So they identify that they want to make a change. They identify that they want to feel healthier, that they're going to do more mindfulness, but it's too vague. It's too big. We don't know if it happened or not. I'm going to be more mindful. Well, did I do that? What's that actually look like? Does just breathing count, or do I have to pay attention to it? We need clarity. We need a target. Ambiguity creates anxiety, and it creates more work for the brain where it doesn't want to stay in that mode. So it will go back to habit. So get really clear. Like this example I shared, I'm going to walk 10 minutes Monday through Friday at 5:15, right? That's clear. That gives my brain a target. Clarity is kindness. It's kindness to yourself. It's kindness to those you're working with. It's most kind to your brain. Ambiguity breeds resentment, even internally. So give yourself clear, small targets to support your growth. All right, let's talk about coaching through accountability. And I want to put coaching language to this essentially. Here are a few questions that build accountability without shame. So if you're working with a great coach, especially one that's been trained through an ICF program, what you're going to get is accountability without shame. So that might sound something like, by Friday, what will exist that doesn't exist right now? So in that question, I'm giving you the ability to create some measurable outcomes for yourself. I will have my shoes in my bag every morning. I will have talked to Sam to let Sam know, right? Those are the examples. I'm going to start putting some plans in place. Another question through coaching is, what's most likely to get in the way, and what's your plan if that happens? So let's identify some of those things that might get in your way. And most importantly, let's start to identify and plan for those. So it might be something like, my family's expecting me home at 5:30, but I'm going to get home actually probably more like 5:45. So I need to let them know. I need to make sure that that works for transportation and childcare and all of those other things. So I'm setting myself up to succeed. A third question you could ask is, what's one small, visible action you'll take in the next 24 hours? I love this one because it starts to encourage people right now to begin to think about change. And it is especially an invitation to those small steps. These kinds of questions, so these 3 questions we just went through, we can ask ourselves, we can ask other people if we've been invited to be part of their change. And it helps move from intention, so that great idea, level 1, to actual execution of the plan. It builds trust, not fear. The best accountability conversations sound less like interrogations. Why did you do that? What happened? Blah, 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 blah. And instead, it sounds like a partnership. I'm here with you. What does success feel like? How do we reach that goal? What does accountability look like? What would help move you forward? And so forth. All right. I'm hoping I'm doing some work here in moving the needle for you on your relationship with accountability and really thinking about it through this love and trust and support lens. And as we begin to close, we've got one more kind of segment, I guess, to the podcast that I want to bring you through. And this is more of a practice, and it's what we call the accountability map. So I'm going to try this short reflection. And I want to encourage you to do this with me if you're in a place where you can do this. If not, notice where this is in the podcast and then come back to it when you have some time to work through this. You can jot down the answers. You can just think through it if you're driving or walking as I ask the questions and walk you through it. So step 1 in the accountability map is identity. I am a person who. So what identity are you reinforcing? I am a person who takes risks, invests in my family, makes financial investments, plans for my retirement, sets boundaries, prioritizes self-care. What identity are you reinforcing? So listen to your answer when you play with that statement. I am a person who. And see how you might want to play with that to build an identity that reinforces your goal. So I am a person who practices self-care so that I best serve my community and my family, for example, is a way that we can begin to identify with self-care as being the best I can possibly be. It's not taking away from my family or my duties. It's actually reinforcing those. But we can easily see how that might work against us if we say, I'm a person who puts family first. Then we're easily going to put them first in those 10 minutes where we could otherwise be walking, especially when vulnerability enters the scene, which it will. So really playing with that statement, I'm a person who takes care of my health and well-being so that I can best serve my family. Just an example. Step 2, specific actions. When blank happens, I will. So I'm just going to stay with this walking after work example. When busyness happens after work, I will prioritize and look for 10 minutes to do my walk. So I think about this again, if I take my son to soccer. So let's say I have to leave work early. His practice starts at 4:30. I'm already gone at 5:15. So what I will do is look for ways to make that walk happen. I can do that right after I drop him off and walk for 10 minutes. I can park further away from the grocery store and walk my way in. I'm looking for things. When rain happens, I will what? When injury happens, I will what? When stress happens, I will what? What will you do when life happens? So specific actions. Step 3, safe witness. Who will I tell and by when? So who can you ask to be your accountability partner? And when? When will you talk to them? How will you coach them into this accountability? Share this podcast with them. Create some shared, motivating, supporting, loving, compassionate, supportive statements. I'm going to keep saying supportive. So the way that you support your brain rather than berating it and interrogating it for not walking. Step 4, debrief. So what worked, what didn't, and what will I adjust next time? So maybe on Saturday, you get into your journal and you reflect on this. So what worked this week? Okay, I was able to walk 3 days this week. What didn't work? So it seems like every Wednesday I'm having trouble because of soccer practice. So what will I adjust? How will I do this? Right? So this is really combating that cognitive distortion of all or nothing. Take one behavior or habit you're working on and walk it through these 4 steps. You'll feel the difference. This is not about willpower or making it happen. It's about building a plan, building support, and building self-trust. So here's my truth that I want to share. Accountability isn't about catching failure. Accountability isn't something we build in once we have failed. We build it in from day one because it's supportive. It's about staying faithful to your future self. When you practice it with safety, clarity, compassion, and again, that word support, your brain learns the most powerful message there is. I can trust myself. And that's what real growth feels like. It's trust in motion. It's failure wrapped in trust in motion. So today, take one small action your future self will thank you for. Think about it. Put it in the comments if you're willing to do that. Bring us in as part of your declaration of the change that you're working towards. Send the text, make the call, go for the walk, keep the promise. Whatever your goal is, do that thing. Think about what is one small step I can take in 24 hours. What are the small science-backed ways I can make growth happen? If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone that's on their own growth journey, walking with you in a parallel path, for example, someone you'd like to hold accountable with love could be another way. It could be a way to open up a conversation and say, I feel like maybe I've been holding you accountable in a way that doesn't actually support you. So let's talk about this. You listen to this, I'll listen to this, and let's talk about ways that we can move each other forward through love and support. And as always, you can find support and loads of wonderful science-based, ICF-backed accountability through coaching, and you can find more trainings and upcoming classes at yesempower.com. That's YESEMPOWER.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and stay accountable to your best self. Thanks for tuning in to Rewired, where neuroscience meets real-life change. If you enjoyed today's conversation, I'd be so grateful if you take a moment to leave a 5-star review. Your feedback helps people discover the tools, insights, and inspirations they need to create lasting change. While you're leaving that 5-star review, please also subscribe and share an episode with a friend. Remember, the way you think shapes the way you live. Every intentional thought, every mindful choice rewires your brain and your life. So go live intentionally, live thoughtfully, and never underestimate the power of your own mind to transform your world. Until next time, this is Tiffany with Empower Coaching and Training. Stay curious, stay empowered, and keep rewiring for real change.
Every family has challenges, and every parent deserves support. At Empower Coaching and Training, youth and parenting coach Jasmine Chandler helps parents and young people find clarity, connection, and practical tools that make a difference. Visit yesempower.com to connect with Jasmine and explore our team of incredible coaches today.